Ascent Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Glad We Met, The Art and Science of One-on-One Meetings, by Dr. Steven G. Rogelberg, narrated by Dr. Steven G. Rogelberg. This book is dedicated to two amazing, kind, loving, inspirational, supportive, and generous women. My mom, Jane Rogelberg, with whom I had my very first one-on-one meeting, and my wife, Sandy Rogelberg, with whom I've had the most one-on-ones by far. Forward by Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. As an executive coach for over 40 years, my mission has been to work with leaders to create positive, lasting change for themselves, their teams, and their organizations. At the heart of effective leadership is the trust and communication that executives build with their team members. Although this trust is built through many important behaviors and actions, one of the practices all of my clients go through is a process called feed forward. Early in my career, it became very clear that leaders and their direct reports were in desperate need of consistent and timely feedback on their progress and performance. But getting my leaders to conduct these sessions with the reports felt like pulling teeth. Many associated feedback with focusing on the past, bringing up failures, and having difficult conversations that were challenging to approach. As a result, the reports never got any meaningful feedback, and their performances suffered. One-on-one meetings were dreaded and signaled that there would be negative topics and emotions discussed. Feed Forward takes the fear and discomfort out of feedback by focusing on ideas and suggestions for the future. Each leader is required to have consistent one-on-one meetings with their reports, not only to follow up on the status of their work, but also to provide ideas on changes for the future. Key to this process is that the leader also asks for ideas for their own leadership and invites their employees to think of ways they can implement better leadership behaviors in the future. This element of not only giving, but also asking to receive advice for the future opened the door for increased humility and communication in a way I haven't seen before. One of the surprising outcomes to Feed Forward was that creating these one-on-one meetings with at least one agenda item that focused on personal and professional development gave the space the leaders and employees needed to present other questions and concerns and to collaborate on much more than they felt comfortable doing before. These became highlight moments of the week for my clients. They felt better connected with each of their direct reports and enjoyed increased engagement and growth from their entire team. This small change made one-on-one meetings the pillar of their leadership and radically changed their cultures and productivity as a whole. Unlocking the full potential and benefits for successful one-on-one meetings, Steven's latest book allows you to create these spaces within your own teams to connect and grow meaningfully. By answering such questions about whether you really need to have one-on-one meetings, what they should cover, how you should conduct them, Glad We Met ensures you walk away with the tools you need to start leading better meetings today. The benefits from these improved meetings will go far beyond better productivity for team culture, communication, and engagement. Steven's expert knowledge in coaching and helping leaders build trust and positive communication over the last 20 years is invaluable for this book. His extensive research on this topic provides critical insights and an evidence-based approach. Filled with actionable steps and real examples to help you learn, this material is applicable across a wide range of meetings with different types of people, even beyond managers and team members. Start investing in your team and cultivating the positive, trusting culture with Glad We Met. Dr. Marshall Goldsmith is the Thinkers 50 #1 executive coach and New York Times bestselling author of The Earned Life, Triggers, and What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Preface, Vision, Approach, and the Science. There's a hole the size of the Grand Canyon when it comes to one-on-ones. David Rodriguez, Board Director and Chief HR Officer, Marriott International, retired. As an organizational psychologist, I'm drawn to research work phenomena that are understudied, pervasive, perform poorly, and yet highly consequential to the thriving and success of individuals and teams. This brings me squarely to the topic of one-on-one meetings, one-on-ones, as it checks all these boxes for sure. My mission, collect and synthesize evidence so that the amazing potential of one-on-ones can be fully realized by leaders and team members alike. One-on-ones are incredibly common. Elise Keith recently did a careful analysis of overall meeting activity in the United States using archival data and a host of thoughtful extrapolations. She concluded there are an estimated 62 to 80 million meetings per day in the United States alone. Let's expand to the rest of the world now. The United States represents just over 4% of the global population. Interestingly, in the only cross-cultural study I could find, no significant differences were found across countries in meeting activity. Given this, one could make the case that to approximate how many meetings occur each day as a planet, you would need to multiply the U.S. meeting estimate by 25 times. Using Elise's low-end estimate of 62 million meetings in the United States multiplied by 25, you get 1.55 billion meetings a day. To be even more conservative, let's round this number down and call it a billion meetings a day. My gosh, that is a lot of meetings. Now, let's hone in on one-on-ones. Based on my research and the research of others, 20 to 50% of all meetings are one-on-ones. That's around from 200 million to 500 million one-on-ones each day around the world. We can attach a dollar value to these meetings. To do so, the following parameters are used. A low-end estimate of wages, $9.37 per hour based on a BBC analysis of average global wages. Average time for each one-on-one, 20 minutes, which again is conservative based on my work, multiplied by 2 attendees, and the lesser estimate of 200 one-on-ones per day. Calculated together, the investment in one-on-ones is $1.25 billion US dollars per day. Let me emphasize, this is per day. Now, for really troubling news, my initial research finds that nearly half of one-on-ones are rated as suboptimal by team members. Nearly half. Compounding the problem, leaders' self-rating of their skills in conducting one-on-ones appears to be inflated, suggesting that leaders think they're doing a better job at leading one-on-ones than they actually are. Hence, an incredible opportunity exists to fill this gap in leadership skills and to maximize the return of investment for this critical workplace activity. The problem is that despite one-on-ones filling leaders' calendars, meaningful guidance on how to conduct one-on-ones is quite sparse. Making matters worse, the guidance that does exist is really rarely based on strong evidence and science. Instead, managers are left to rely on A, what feels right to them, B, repeating practices they've experienced by their current and former managers, and C, guesswork. The purpose of this book is to fill that gap. Besides its evidence-based comprehensiveness, this book will help leverage science to navigate the difficult balancing act required in one-on-ones. For example, one-on-ones need structure, but also flexibility. One-on-ones must tackle short-term issues, but also need to address long-term topics. One-on-ones need to solve problems, but they also need to build relationships. One-on-ones need to be tailored to meet the needs of the direct, but at the same time, some consistency is needed across your team. This book will provide guidance on how to balance these scales. The science on meetings. Science on meetings? Yes, there is indeed a science around understanding and improving meetings. This has been a passion area of mine for years, involving dozens of collaborators around the globe, examining more meetings than I could attend in 100 lifetimes. I have studied a variety of topics related to meetings, such as meeting success, attendee fatigue, characteristics of excellent meeting leaders, lateness to meetings, how to effectively schedule meetings, key ways of designing meetings, meeting interventions to promote creativity, and much, much more. Over the last few years, my focus has turned to one-on-ones. I have surveyed and interviewed thousands of team members and managers about their one-on-ones. For example, a longitudinal study was conducted with tech workers tracking their one-on-ones over 25 weeks, along with their attitudes towards their manager. In another example, I surveyed over 4,000 knowledge workers, e.g., programmers, engineers, architects, in 4 countries about their one-on-one preferences and their proposed mechanisms to improve one-on-ones. In another study, I collected data to learn more about executive and organizational practices around one-on-ones. In this study, I interviewed over 50 executives from leading organizations such as Facebook, Volvo, PepsiCo, Deloitte, Warner Brothers, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Boston Beer, Duke Energy, Marriott, Dell, Google, and Bank of America. A 4th example emerges from the dissertation research of my terrific doctoral student, Jack Flincham, which examined leader behavior in one-on-ones and the connection to direct report need fulfillment and their subsequent engagement. In addition to these and other research studies I've conducted on one-on-ones, I integrate research on leadership, collaboration, coaching, mentorship, feedback, and communication applicable to one-on-ones. In doing so, my hope is that this book will provide the most up-to-date research and recommendations on how to understand and effectively conduct one-on-one meetings. Book structure. This book deeply explores the what's, how's, and why's of one-on-ones by highlighting challenges, pain points, opportunities, and areas for customization. To stress the practical steps of one-on-ones, each chapter is phrased as a question to be answered. The chapter then leverages science, lived experiences, and best practices of one-on-ones where applicable to answer the question and to bring the content to light. The book ends with special topics such as skip-level one-on-ones, a meeting with your manager's manager, and navigating the challenge of too many meetings, what meeting science researchers call meeting load. Finally, I provide tools throughout the book to help you succeed in your one-on-ones, including agenda templates, facilitation checklists, assessments to see how your skills measure up, special considerations for remote employees, and many others. The voice I use throughout is the voice I use when giving a talk or workshop. It is conversational, a little sarcastic and silly at times, but grounded with science. The hope is that it reads like an engaging TED Talk. Furthermore, apart from Chapter 11, I'm talking to leaders of all levels throughout the book. I use the terms leader and manager interchangeably. So when I use the term you in this book, it's a broad term to represent the person organizing, calling, and orchestrating the one-on-one, which is typically the leader, but not always. At the same time, this book is not solely intended for those who manage other employees. Non-managers, I use the terms team member, direct report, or direct throughout the book, will absolutely benefit from the learnings as it will enable them to get more out of the one-on-ones they participate in and position them well when they invariably lead one-on-ones. While I spotlight arguably the most critical type of one-on-one, one-on-ones between leaders and their direct reports, most of the content discussed will be relevant to all types of one-on-ones, from peer to peer to employee to customer. These insights can even be applied to elevating informal one-on-ones between family and friends. Before starting on our journey, I want to begin by commenting on social and organizational science more broadly. Studying humans, human behavior, team behavior, and how two people, a dyad, interact is inherently complex. While patterns, insights, and learnings do emerge over time, they do not represent an absolute truth. Even with the most rigorous research, there's always more to learn, new variables to examine, new settings to explore, different people and cultures to investigate, and so much more. Therefore, science provides us with a bounded truth. In other words, what we think we know at the moment, which sets the stage for future exploration and discovery. Acting in accordance with the science will tend to yield the best outcomes for you and your directs. However, given the evolving nature of science, paths not aligned with science still have the potential to work for some people in some situations if executed well. For example, monthly one-on-ones are associated with poor engagement outcomes compared to weekly or bi-weekly one-on-ones. Knowing this, would I advocate monthly one-on-ones based on the science? Probably not. But could this cadence work in certain circumstances depending on team size, relationship with the leader, level in the organization, and tenure together? Possibly yes. Throughout the book, I try to emphasize evidence-based practices, but that does not mean that you can't veer in a different direction if warranted. This book respects individual choice and tailoring. But it is better to err on the side of acting consistently with the data more times than not. It will yield better outcomes as it increases your odds of success. Acknowledgements. 1 year and around 52,000 words later, here we are. The book has been birthed. My name is on the cover, but there is a ton of wonderful people behind this all. First, thank you to my agent, Jill Marcel. Jill, you've been an incredible resource and mentor to me. Next, thank you, Dana Bliss, executive editor at Oxford. Your never-wavering support and guidance has been a true gift. 2 organizational science PhD students, now doctors, Leanna Kramer and Jack Flincham's fingerprints are all over this book. I don't think I could have done this book without you. You both are amazing and brilliant partners, and I love you both. Speaking of love, Sandy Rogelberg, spouse, Jane Rogelberg, mom, Sasha Rogelberg, daughter, and her partner Lainey Myers, Gordon Rogelberg, son, Peter Kahn, best friend, Lynn Dorn, mom-in-law, and Mochi, my pug. What can I say? Thank you is not enough. You are my rocks. You are my life. I wake up each day filled with love for you all. I also want to acknowledge loved ones that shaped me greatly, but sadly have passed on. This starts with my dad, Joel. Thank you for always challenging me, pushing me, and loving me deeply. I miss you so much and long for one more hug, one more meal, and one more laugh. And my grandparents, your unconditional love sustained me and made me feel so safe to be the silly little boy I was, and maybe still am. My list of gratitude could go on and on and on. There are so many amazing people in my life. You know who you are, as we don't hesitate to express our love and appreciation. I am a fortunate, lucky, and grateful man. Section 1. Setting the stage for one-on-ones. In this section of the book, I discuss the following. 1. Why one-on-ones? 2. Communicating about one-on-ones. 3. One-on-one cadence. 4. Scheduling and location of one-on-ones. 5. Questions making up a one-on-one. And 6. What a one-on-one agenda can look like. These topics are designed to get you on the path toward excellent one-on-ones. These are the critical foundational topics to understand before you move into actually conducting the one-on-one, which is section 2 of the book. I want to share 2 illustrative quotes. Every one-on-one is an opportunity to make an investment in a person's development and to help them, no strings attached. The compounded effects of developmental investments, conversation by conversation, can enhance individual success and foster a healthy, productive, and resilient organizational culture. Executive, Center for Creative Leadership. Personal and organizational effectiveness are contingent on trust that deepens with each one-on-one conducted with intentionality, focus, care, authenticity, and vulnerability. In turn, stronger and genuine connectedness fosters collective drive and success. Admiral, U.S. Navy. Chapter 1. Do I really need to do one-on-ones? The answer to this question is, of course, yes. Could you imagine an author writing a book on one-on-ones and then saying the answer is no? That would be a very short book indeed. Let me alter the question to make it more difficult and nuanced. If I have regular team meetings, do I need to do one-on-ones? Yes or no? If I have a good deal of social time with my team members, do I need to have one-on-ones? Yes or no? If I keep my door open and emphasize my open door policy, do I need to have one-on-ones? Yes or no? If I'm super responsive to emails, do I need to have one-on-ones? Yes or no? If my team is doing great and my engagement scores are high, do I need to have one-on-ones? Yes or no? If I've worked with my team for a long time, do I need to have one-on-ones? Yes or no? If my team members aren't asking for these meetings, do I need to have one-on-ones? Yes or no? The answers are still yes, yeah, we, see, ya, da, and hi. that is a lot of yeses. There is something special and unique about one-on-ones that goes beyond team meetings, an open door policy, and social interactions. While this may seem exaggerated, it is not. One-on-ones are a core leadership responsibility. The best leaders recognize that one-on-ones are not an add-on to the job. One-on-ones are the job of a leader. Once a leader realizes and accepts this fully, the potential of one-on-ones for transforming their people and their team can start to be realized. You might already be getting heartburn at the thought of having more meetings. As someone who pretty much despises meetings when they're poorly run, I get it. But keep in mind, well-executed one-on-one should end up saving you time by creating better alignment in your team, higher performing directs, and fewer spontaneous interruptions to your workday as they are saved for the scheduled one-on-one. Also, one-on-ones promote employee engagement, ultimately decreasing turnover. Think about how much time and resources are spent finding and onboarding new employees. Much of that can be avoided by having effectively conducted one-on-ones. With that said, one-on-ones do mean having more meetings on your calendar, but these meetings are warranted and can increase efficiency in the long run. What is a one-on-one? In the simplest sense, one-on-ones refer to a regular and reoccurring time held between a manager and their directs to discuss topics such as the direct's well-being, motivation, productivity, roadblocks, priorities, clarity of roles and assignments, alignment with other work activities, goals, coordination with others and the team, employee development, and career planning. These meetings are designed to grow and strengthen your relationship with your directs through effective, honest, and supportive communication. Ultimately, one-on-ones serve to meet the practical needs of your directs, but also addresses their personal needs. Practical needs refer to the support directs require to effectively conduct, prioritize, and execute their work both in the present moment and over time. Personal needs refer to directs' inherent need to be treated in a considerate way, including the need to feel respected, trusted, supported, and valued. Addressing personal and practical needs in a one-on-one is not easy. Visit the quiz assessing your overall one-on-one meeting skills found in the Tools section following this book section to get a better sense of your baseline. Managers differ in how they themselves define one-on-ones. For example, one manager told me that one-on-ones were completely the direct's meeting. Their direct would bring him whatever topics they wanted to discuss, and they would cover those items together. Another manager told me she used one-on-one time for decision-making. She asked directs to come to every meeting with a list of decisions that they would work through. One manager used one-on-one time to provide directs with coaching. A different manager told me she does not do much coaching during her one-on-ones, but focuses on more tactical problems. These are all viable approaches to one-on-ones. While I would advocate for a well-rounded use of one-on-ones that pretty much combines all of these perspectives across time, not in a single meeting per se, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach to one-on-ones. Success and adding real value can be achieved in a number of different ways when executed effectively and in alignment with the meeting science. Overall, despite you driving the process to create a dedicated space on the calendar to truly engage with your people, for the most part, this is the directs meeting. You certainly influence what is discussed and the logistics, but the meeting should be dominated by topics of importance to the team members' needs, concerns, and hopes. This is key to one-on-ones. They are generally the team members' meeting orchestrated and supported by you. One key question I often get asked is whether a formal performance appraisal meeting is a one-on-one. Although this meeting type is conducted in a one-on-one format, it is really a different type of meeting. How do one-on-ones fit into the performance appraisal process? One-on-ones can elevate and complement an organization's formal performance appraisal system. In fact, one-on-ones can be the engine for making a formal performance appraisal system realize its full potential for organizations. To better understand this idea, let's back up and first recognize why formal performance appraisals are needed in organizations. A formal performance appraisal system, when done effectively, can accurately document how your people are doing. This can drive performance improvement while serving to reinforce desired behaviors through recognition of good performance. Moreover, formal assessments can be used to make better, more informed decisions about compensation, promotions, and exiting poor performers if warranted. In the aggregate, formal performance appraisals give you a sense of your overall talent pool, where you're strong, who your high potentials are, where the bench is weak, and if you currently have the talent needed for succession planning. These appraisals can also help you determine training needs for the organization, for example, common deficiencies that can be targeted, and serve as criteria to evaluate organizational practices such as the introduction of a new selection system or training system. For example, did the introduction of X lead to increases in the overall performance of your people? While there is great promise in having formal performance appraisals, given these benefits, many employees, managers, and directs alike complain about them. Directs often feel the formal assessment is unfair, unbalanced, and weighted with more recent behaviors than cumulative behaviors. Directs often feel the formal assessment is not timely, e.g., the assessment may cover something that happened 6 months ago. Directs often feel anxious and stressed when wondering what will happen during these formal assessment meetings and what they will learn. Managers often dread the meetings as well and worry how their people will respond to their feedback and whether the effort truly adds value. On top of that, it is time-consuming for managers to put together a thoughtful review and complete the required documentation, especially as they may not recall all that occurred during the evaluation period for the various directs. One-on-ones to the rescue. One-on-ones can take anxiety out of the formal review process because performance issues and strengths have been signaled well in advance. Furthermore, notes from one-on-ones serve as an incredibly helpful archive to draw from when creating a formal appraisal. Not only does this make it easier to prepare for the review, but it also increases the accuracy of your assessment and your direct's perceptions of fairness, as keeping meeting notes helps to mitigate the possibility of the review being dominated by things that have happened most recently. In addition, by having one-on-ones regularly, you can increase the likelihood that your people will improve over time and get the coaching they need. They can drive and enhance performance in between formal assessments. Using one-on-ones in this manner should therefore make formal assessments less stressful, more valuable, and even more enjoyable for all parties. As heard in these examples, one-on-ones complement the formal performance appraisal process. They become the mechanism of change, documentation, and support in real time. Also, as one-on-ones help build trust and strengthen the relationship between managers and their directs, formal assessments are likely to be greeted with more open-mindedness and greater appreciation of their value. Why one-on-ones are critical. It cannot be stressed enough that although successful and regular one-on-ones move work forward in the short term, they also promote critical outcomes that extend beyond day-to-day work. For instance, one-on-ones support employee growth and development, establish trust, build the foundations of working relationships, and further still, influence how a team member fundamentally experiences you, their job, and the organization. It's not hyperbolic. Well, maybe it's a little hyperbolic to say that one-on-ones done well have the potential to dramatically alter the work lives and career progression of direct reports. And although you can certainly find people who don't feel this way about one-on-ones, my contention is that this view is a result of having poor experiences with one-on-ones. In fact, the research is quite clear that one-on-ones are arguably one of the most important activities you can do as a leader. More specifically, regularly scheduled and successful one-on-ones are essential to 7 interconnected and important outcomes. Employee engagement.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?